Hello, you're very welcome to another episode of the Filum Show. I'm Mike Sheridan. I'm joined as always by Dee Malumbi and Brian Lloyd. And he's back.
Yay!
Producer Dave. He's back on the desk. What I'm gonna do now here is right. I've got the Packed House iPad here, company iPad, spared no expense. So I'm going to take a picture of producer Dave here, and just to show what he looks like behind the scenes. So okay, do your best post, do your best.
He looks so angry.
Give me Ferrari.
He looks so angry.
Give me Ferrari.
I love how angry he looks.
There we go.
He's so upset.
He's
so angry. I love it. He's so angry.
You know what? Because you know what happens, right? Because all of these things, we're front and center. We're the talent.
Sure.
We're the talent.
We're the talent.
And we see Charlotte Reed putting the show together so well every week. Yeah. Producer Dave on the decks there. So
all the people that work behind the scenes. It's very meta because we're talking about movies.
Yeah, very true.
Exactly.
Yeah, we like to reach out to the little people, Producer Dave. We appreciate you. I'll just let you know we appreciate your work. Deadpan Dave. He's either Deadpan Dave, Producer Dave, or Sports Dave. Because he does stuff for the Sports Chronicle. And he's
writing something there. What's he doing?
What are you writing? Yeah, you taking notes.
You taking notes, guy? What are you writing about, guy?
Crossing people off his Christmas card list. Literally crossing people off his Christmas card list. It was good to have you back, Dave. The same was crap last week, Brian. Shocking.
Oh, here, listen. Right, okay. First of all,
to be fair, did you watch the show back last week and you could see Brian go?
Yeah, you can actually see me panicking with the thing, looking down like this. I'm like, oh god, I gotta fix the sound. You can see me twisting the knobs and looking really kind of like that. That's because I was trying to do two things at once.
You know why that is, and that's my fault as well because I kind of peek sometimes because I lean over if I'm looking at the iPads. And you guys are like,
and look at him making the adjustments when you leaned.
See, he knows. He's on the
ball.
Like
that, on the ball.
Yeah.
On the ball.
He's got a radio background, does Producer Dave, Radio Dave, Sports Dave, and Deadpan Dave. Or Cork Dave. Handsome Dave. Yeah. Notions.
Don't know about that now.
Notions. Okay, anyway, this week we've got, I suppose there's 3 films that we're going to review. First of all, we're going to talk Ocean's 8, which is kind of anticipated to some degree, Deirdre.
Yes.
You've got an interview with Rupert Everett for The Happy Prince. That's going up on the YouTube channel as well, and you'll be able to see that on site. Brian, you have an interview with Aoife McArdle for Kissing Candicejygj. So we're chock-a-block with content this week.
Yeah.
But that will be on the YouTube channel as well if you're watching this, or just head on to entertainment.ie YouTube and you can see all of the interviews. Okay, Dee, first of all, let's talk Ocean's 8. I love the cast.
Yeah,
like the cast.
It's an amazing cast.
Love the idea. But Gary Ross as a director, I kind of dulled my excitement for this one a little bit.
Yes.
Steven Soderbergh or something was coming back, I would have been a bit more excited. But your vibe for this one was like, it's 3 stars. 3 stars.
Yeah, it's grand. I really, really, really wanted it to be really good. And it was just okay. It was fine. I mean, I think that you're exactly right in that because they had Gary Ross in for the job and he was working as both director and a co-writer on it, by the way. It was grand. It was fun and it was entertaining and it was grand for its running length. But in terms of, and I mean, I actually just went back and watched Ocean's 11 over the weekend and just how ambitious that film and how funny and smart. And when you see everything kind of coming together at the end and you're like, oh my God, and they were doing that and they were doing that. And oh my gosh, all those eureka moments with the ending of Ocean's 8, I suppose because it's on a smaller scale and it's with fewer characters.
Is it on a smaller scale, just in terms of the characters, it's 8, not 11?
In terms of the scale of the actual heist, because they're essentially stealing a necklace. It's not in the first film when they were stealing from the 3 casinos who all had their money in that. Yeah, and it was way underground and it was way, way more ambitious. But I also think that it wasn't just the scale of the actual heist itself, which was I wouldn't say minimal exactly, but I just thought that Gary Ross was just playing it really safe and straight and straightforward, and he wasn't taking any kind of risks with it. He just wanted to get it right.
What about that panache that Soderbergh has? Because you mentioned that he even had that in Logan Lucky, which is kind of a hick version of Ocean's 11,
exactly.
which is just brilliant. Ross is he made the first Hunger Games, he made Seabiscuit. He's kind of a fine director. Fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even with the Hunger Games, I know that was kind of a big hit, but I mean, he was essentially just adapting the book. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was kind of easy enough to do.
Francis Lawrence did a better job, I think, with the sequels. Under more difficult circumstances.
Across the cast, there were kind of ones who were better than others. I thought Rihanna was great. Rihanna was one of those characters that it was she belonged to Steven Soderbergh's movie. She was just so naturally cool and nonchalant. And there was something that was kind of trying a bit too hard about the films and about certain characters sometimes. I thought Aquafina as well was really great in it.
That sounds like a bottle of water.
I think that's the intent.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's the way.
Anne Hathaway,
singers
Anne Hathaway is great in it. She's very, very funny. Like, her character is quite over the top, but she's very funny.
So is Anne Hathaway.
I liked. Yeah, there you go. I really liked Helena Bonham Carter as well. But actually, for me, I thought that Cate Blanchett and Sandra Bullock were very kind of I mean, they weren't given a whole lot to work
They're
with.
the Pitt and Damon. Or
Yeah.
the Pitt and Clooney.
Exactly.
They have to anchor it. A little
Yeah,
bit, I
yeah.
suppose.
And I just felt that, well, Debbie Ocean, who's Sandra Bullock's character, is very boring. She's just she's got nothing. And then Cate Blanchett just confused me with her Aussie accent, which is kind of, and I know you guys were saying she's Australian, but
Yeah, you didn't believe us.
no, it was like, I don't know. It's like a bit like, you know how other actors, when they've had an accent for so long, but then they're kind of imitating so many accents over their careers, you see other ones get influenced. And then it just ended up being really kind of confusing. And she's kind of, again, she's trying to play this kind of cool, doesn't give a damn attitude, and just didn't work. It was trying too hard.
Did she ever say Struth? No.
Not to my knowledge.
not really.
Flaming Gala or like Stone the Flaming Crows or any of those. No,
That
but
sounded a bit familiar, the last one.
but
In my
it's-
experience with Australians, it's mostly 4-letter words that begin with C. But anyway.
and ends with T and there's a UN in there.
Brian.
Well, I didn't spell it. I spelled it out differently. They don't know. But there is a thing though with like George Clooney's character in Ocean's 11. He was a boring character. Like, I always felt that he was like...
I didn't think he was boring. I thought he was cool.
Yeah, he was cool, but like, I mean, he wasn't like... He didn't pop out the screen, and is what I'm saying. Like, you think of like Carl Reiner, or you think of like, you know, Casey Affleck and
I
Scott Caan.
completely disagree. I think of George Clooney when I think of Ocean's
Really?
11. Yeah.
Yeah.
George Clooney in a tux, you know, on the strip.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I always kind of, when I think of Ocean's 11, I always think of like the other character, like Bernie Mac. Like, you know what I mean? I think of Bernie
Mac
Mac.
was great.
Genuinely
yeah.
forgot he was in it.
Really?
When you think of Ocean's 11, when I think of Ocean's 11, I
Elliot
think
Gould as well is a great one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of Matt Damon, Brad Pitt, and George Clooney. But
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
fact
that
that
kind of
Brad Pitt
picture of
is
the three of them
Yeah.
sitting down wearing the glasses just watching.
yeah,
Oprah.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that was in the third one.
What's that? Yeah.
The second one is atrocious.
Muck.
That final, so lost of its own hoop. Like, again, speaking of people you forget are in things, or people like
Catherine
you know,
Zeta-Jones.
Well, that Catherine Zeta-Jones, like the first one, Julia Roberts, and you were like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like apparently George Clooney sent her a note at a restaurant before he ever met her with a $20 bill saying, I heard you charge 20 a movie.
That's funny.
That gas man, George Clooney.
That's funny.
He is
That
gas.
only works if you look like George Clooney.
Yeah,
True.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if Steve Buscemi sending a 20 grand to be like,
Hey,
the-
come on.
What?
Steve Buscemi's funny. He
He
could
sent over
win.
the bodyguard with pepper spray. I know he is funny. Steve Buscemi's a very talented actor and a great actor. Even Billy Bob Thornton. Somebody like that sends over 20.
Sure.
You know, you're going to run over with the pepper spray and be like, stalker. This is very strange. But my point being, George Clooney's a very handsome, charismatic man.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, that's kind
Yeah,
of cool.
it could work, yeah. Isn't it funny though? Because like, I know Sandra Bullock. I know we kind of talked about this off air, but like Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett came out and basically said that Ocean's 8 was not for male reviewers, that it was for females, that it was
Yeah,
for
I
women.
really wish they hadn't said that.
Like, okay, right. I do. Obviously, Deirdre, you went to. I can see you making the face.
I'm doing my gym today.
You're doing the gym to the camera, kind of like as in like,
Yeah.
What?
right.
We know celebrities watch this show, and we're going to go into that later. So just in case.
Just in case, but let's get into this for a second, right?
Well, the primary point I made was that the vast majority of movies out there are, you know, led by males. So otherwise women would have nothing to watch if
Fair
you know,
enough.
only male reviewers, you know, if
Yeah.
it was the same way for
What's another thing
each.
I thought, and, Brian, bring me back here if I'm missing the point. What's another thing as well about there needs to be more diversity in film criticism.
Yeah,
was
which
that-
is true.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I agree.
that's true
I agree.
anyway,
yeah,
yeah.
there needs to be just generally more diversity in these roles. But I mean, I suppose it's, you know, do you want to be a film critic? It's a very crap job.
Yeah, it's pretty. Like,
To be honest,
like, look at us. Do we
like-
look like happy people? Do we look like happy and fulfilled people? No.
None of us are rich, and I'm in charge of stuff. Like, look at us. Dee looks well. To be fair, like Brian's wearing that top. I think he bought it in an Oxfam or something. Like you genuinely did, didn't you? I'm not being funny.
I think I did. Yeah, I can't
Go do something else, kids. Go do something else.
No, but like I mean, it is that thing of the reason why I bring it up is because I think if this film had been better received, there's no way this conversation would be happening.
It has been well received, though.
Hasn't.
The film has made $42 million in its opening weekend in the US. It's which is a franchise high, I suppose. Inflation and all that.
Yeah,
be slightly different, but it's been a success. It's relatively low budget. It's less than $100 million, so it's done well. I don't get comments like that. I just don't, and I'm not going to go, the blokes who don't all this for men. I'm not, because that's a stupid thing to say as well. They're stupid comments. The blanket wide, far and wide, broadly stupid comments. Just don't say stuff like that.
But that's what I'm saying to you. I think, okay, fine, maybe not commercially done well, but critically, I don't think it's done well.
No, I think it's been quite mediocre.
Yeah, it's been very mediocre.
By your review, you were like, sorry.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think had it been getting 4 and 5 stars reviews, there's no way they would have brought that up. I don't think.
Yeah.
Was this something?
What do you think? Like, I mean, tell me what you're like.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
as a female,
I would have vocalised my disagreement had I disagreed. But is this not something that was it Sandra Bullock brought up about the Ghostbusters, about the backlash?
Yeah, no, that was a backlash.
Yeah.
Like that was totally unfair. What she equated it to was basically those actresses were put in front of a firing squad, and what was so frustrating about that and was the fact that nobody went to see that movie, and you still see it. You still see people, even with that article, I remember people were commenting like, oh, well, that's because Ghostbusters was crap. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but most of you people who are commenting did not see the movie, and I know that because it did crap in the box office. So you couldn't have gone and see the movie.
Crap movies do well all the time.
Yeah.
So,
Transformers.
Yeah,
exactly. Well,
so it's just like, if you're going to have an opinion about a movie, you have to go see it. That's what I feel like at the end of the day. If you think that it's a bad movie, fine. But if you're talking about it being bad and you're going off what other people have said and you haven't seen it yourself, your opinion is completely invalid.
Well, like, if you know you're going to hate a movie and then you go and see the movie and you're like, yeah, I hate it. That's kind of an annoying thing as well that people do, just in comment sections and that type of crap.
Yeah. Like, they don't kind of give a reason for disliking it. Because I mean, it's kind of easy to go to most movies and hate it. Like, if you went into Ocean's 8 with like a cynical perspective, it'd be easy to kind of leave it saying, oh, it's rubbish. But like, I went in like looking to have a bit of fun and to be entertained, and it was grand.
You were
on
kind
that
of
basis.
Sort of entertained, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like,
it was a bit of fun.
Where did Bullock or Blanchett say this? Because sometimes these things are kind of pulled slightly out of context. There's a broader thing and people just see headlines and they kind of run with that stuff, because I can't imagine a movie star going, yeah, we just made this for the women. We just made this for the ladies. It doesn't make... I mean, maybe in an empowerment sense of make this one for the ladies. Yeah. Everybody go and see it.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, like context is everything, like, so I suppose.
I mean, there still really aren't enough female-led movies being made, and I mean, like, I think I Feel Pretty is an interesting point of comparison, because remember, all three of us went to see that, and I really, really enjoyed it, and we went to that audience full of women and everyone was laughing their asses off, and you guys, like, it just did nothing for you, which is fine.
I didn't dislike it. I didn't dislike it. I actually I thought it was fine. I got the charm of it. But it's interesting that a couple of people who I've kind of spoken, who would be themselves relatively outspoken feminists, were hadn't seen the movie but were like cautious of it, just simply because of the backlash from the trailer that you'd spoken about before. And my reaction was, go and see it. Everybody that I kind of know that went to see it, that wanted to see it, that liked the look of the trailers, that liked the look of the clips, that liked Amy Schumer, maybe enjoyed the movie. So there is a strange level of expectations, and sometimes that goes in reverse, where you're expected to hate something, and it doesn't help either. So it says a lot to you, I think, that we've kind of trailed off
completely. We went
from
way
Ocean's
off,
8 because it bored the hell out of you. I feel like it bored you. I feel like 3 stars.
It
have been
didn't
generous.
bore me. I wanted it to be so much more ambitious. I think it could have been, but it just decided to be safe, and it ended up being fine. When I do genuinely believe it could have been great. I mean, with the cast like that, it could have been something special.
Is it not the Met Gala? That's the thing that they're at. So you would assume that it's chock-a-block then with like celebrity cameos and.
There are a few, and I mean, the costumes are really pretty to look at, so there's that.
That's cool. That's it. Yeah. That was it. The costumes.
There you go.
The costumes are pretty.
If you're going that far down the list.
There's lots of shiny.
Yeah.
Well, no. Well, women like that.
I know, but
this is why like period dramas and everything are so successful,
that.
you
God,
know?
Never mind. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We like the shiny.
I know that, but like I'm saying, like, as in, like, if you're talking about the costumes, like, you're kind of, you're going past, like, the good performances or the good scripts or the good direction.
It's like something that was somebody, what do you think of the film? Like, it's really well shot.
Yeah, and then you're kind of like, that's always like, oh.
So everything else is terrible. So it's the same thing, I suppose, for the costumes or for production design or whatever it is. Okay, let's move on. That sounds like a bag of crap. No thanks. I think I'm actually already bought tickets to see that this weekend.
Did you?
It's not crap. It's not. It's fine. There's a difference between fine and crap.
Fine.
Yeah.
Grand.
Yeah.
Right, Brian, let's talk Kissing Candice quickly.
Yeah.
You caught up with Aoife McArdle,
I did.
who was extremely impressive. She's from Oma. I was just looking at the catalogue of stuff she directed. It was Beneath the Breaking Waves.
Yeah.
I think that the U2
video,
U2 video. She's worked with James Vincent McMorrow a bunch.
Yeah.
She's done, I think, 3 videos with James Vincent McMorrow. Directed ads for like Under Armour, for Audi. Audi? How do we say it?
I say Audi.
How did they say it in Cork, producer Dave?
Sure you don't know.
Opel.
In the ad, they say Audi. So
Audi. Vorsprung
Let's
Dirk
go with the ad.
technique.
Let's go with the ad. And it was funny because, I was obviously here for the interview trying to keep you on track so that you didn't get distracted by shiny things or squirrels and stuff. And you mentioned David Lynch a few times. So I hadn't seen anything about Kissing Candice other than Emma Kirwan mentioned it to me in an interview that he really liked it. So it sounds quite dark and murky from what you said.
Yeah, very. Like, I mean, it's funny you say that because that's the first thing I would say about this. You were saying, like, if you say, oh, it's shot really well, that's usually like, But that is the first thing
I would... But it actually is.
But
the cinematography in this is stunning. Like, she uses, like, the colours green and red in this really fascinating, really striking way. It is actually gorgeous to look at.
Yeah, like, and that's it. Like, and you can tell that she's done, like, some incredible work in a short amount of time, that sort of way. You can tell that she's able to really get, like, drill into, like, the emotional core of a scene within, like, 10 seconds. The problem with Kissing Candice is the fact that, like, the story itself is very, very, very minimal, that kind of way. It's literally about this young girl who lives in this really crap town, who has epilepsy. She has this dream about this man that she is going to fall in love with, and then she sees him one day, and he's part of this kind of group of criminals in the area who are kind of like terrorizing people, and then she kind of strikes up a relationship with him, but then he doesn't turn out to be what she expected him to be, and that's basically the beats of the story. I mean, it's pretty much that.
And it's like supernatural. It's
all
kind of
weird.
It's kind of art house or something.
Okay.
I'd probably
she did say
describe it
Aoife
as.
did say that. In the
Yeah, it is very.
Yeah.
I mean, she was very open. You'll see it in the interview when we talked to her. Like, she was like, "Look, I did not expect people to see this. I know what I was making. I know I was making an art house film, and that's what it is. I think if you go into it with that intent in mind and that kind of recognition of, right, okay, it's not going to be a normal story. It's not going to
be linear. It's not going to be a regular crowd pleaser.
Exactly, yeah. It's going to be something different. If you can kind of give it that, if you can give it that leverage, if you can give it that kind of leeway, you'll really enjoy it because it looks so good. I have never seen an Irish film look this good. Like,
what's the acting like, Dee?
Anne Skelly is amazing in it.
Yeah.
She is the main actress in this, and I really, really want to see her go on to do big things because I think I talked about this in previous podcasts that there just aren't enough Irish actresses out there.
Yeah.
And I thought she was amazing. I think she was one of the 3 girls, wasn't she, who was actually nominated for the F.
Yeah,
remember
that's right.
how it was the 3?
She was in Red Rock.
The 3 nominations.
Yeah.
No. It was for Kissing Candice.
But she's in Red Rock though.
She's in Red Rock as well. She was nominated for Kissing Candice, and the other ones were Saoirse Ronan and your one, Sarah Bulger. I think they were the 3 nominees.
You kind of speaking of actresses and stuff, and Irish actresses in those type of roles and those different nominations. Shauna Carslake for me is the actor at the moment.
Yes,
A Date for Mad Mary was brilliant.
Oh, she's incredible. I know she's from Tala.
You didn't know?
I had no idea where she was from. Her accent is so good in everything she does.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about Dublin Old School later when we get to these social part of the show and the social media part of the show. But she blows me away in everything she's in.
Yeah,
that's
great.
out Friday week. I'm really looking forward to talking about that because I saw it as well. I thought it was great.
Oh, did you see it as well? We can,
I still haven't got to see it yet.
Oh,
I keep missing it. I keep missing the screenings of it. I am going to get to it though.
I might have a little rant as well when we talk about that later on. But however,
what about me?
No, about something else. I would never rant about you, Brian. Never rant about you. You're like my furry little brother.
What?
Wears clothes that are way too tight for him.
I thought you meant something totally different.
I heard something else. I was like,
I think that's what I heard.
What did you hear?
Doesn't matter.
Well, no, come on. Let's
no.
Let's tease this out. Let's tease this out. Let's
just
turn into a therapy session.
No, let's just keep her going.
What did that sound like, Dave? To you,
we'll
as
keep
a
going.
Cork man. As a Cork man. You just haven't been paying attention, have you? Like, he's got that filthy grin across.
Let's get back to Kissing Candice.
He's got that filthy grin across his face.
This is the film show. Let's bring it back to the films.
You need to stop doing that.
What?
Stop doing that. Where you're like, let's move it along. Let's bring it back to this. I'm the host. I'm the captain.
I'm getting it back. I'm getting it back on track.
None of this crack when Deirdre Malumbi hosts this show. You just do what you're told.
No, but also I'm way more subtle than that.
Are you?
I'll subtly move it on to the next topic. Brian won't even realise.
So you'll just start talking about something else.
Yeah.
And Buzz like, all right, guess this is what we're talking about now. And then
Like,
he just
who's
talks
something
about it.
shiny?
Grand, yeah, fine, whatever.
Okay, so The Happy Prince that you cut up with Rupert Everett.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing this interview. He directed this as well.
Yes,
and
wrote it.
Yeah, and it was a
His directorial debut.
and there was a gala premiere where him and Leo Varadkar were hanging out.
Yeah.
Your pal.
You're my
As
pal.
you do.
You're my pal. I've never met Leo Varadkar.
You don't know. You're a big fan of him, though, aren't
I
you?
would say I was a big fan. I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
enough
a bit,
about
yeah.
him. I don't know enough about
Apparently, our show gets political.
him. I mean, yeah, look at Brian there. He's like waiting for an opportunity to pounce.
No.
Look at him. He's like, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. Okay, Dee. Okay, tell me about this one. What's this one about? This is...
It follows Oscar Wilde in his final days, and Rupert Everett plays Oscar Wilde in it. Obviously, he's played him before in a play, and I actually brought up the fact that he'd played him in a play, and I showed that I had gone through. I was really lame. I used to collect these interviews and articles that really like inspired me when I was like an aspiring journalist.
That lame?
It's
That's not
a bit
lame.
lame.
That's lovely.
It's a bit lame.
That's not lame.
He
I
thinks
didn't
it's
say
lame.
anything.
Anyway, I was going through them and I didn't realise this, but I actually kept the one with Rupert Everett from the Sunday Times Culture supplement or something from 5 years ago, and I showed it to him and I was really, really worried that it was going to severely crash and burn and he'd be like, what, you weirdo? But he actually thought it was kind of sweet, and I was like, maybe it was fate, and he was like, maybe it was fate. So I was like, oh,
That's really nice.
That was
That's
really nice. Yeah.
Is the film any good though?
So...
Well...
He is amazing in it, acting-wise. Okay. I really wish that he had actually gone for it with Oscar season, because it's genuinely the performance of his career. Like, he is amazing as Oscar Wilde. He's amazing. He just speaks his words with such, like, care and devotion, and he's so good at portraying Oscar Wilde through all these, like, highs and lows of his career and everything. It's such an amazing performance. Now, obviously, Rupert Everett was taking on quite a lot, and it is like his kind of big passion project and everything with regards to directing it as well. And I think that's where he kind of missteps, because he makes this decision with the chronology of it to basically put it all over the place. So it's set over kind of the last few years of his life. So he would have been arrested for indecency, and I think he was in jail for about 2 years. This was for having like a homosexual relationship, and then he ran off with your man once he got out of jail, and then he's basically living as an exile in France for like the last kind of few months to year of his life. And chronologically, the film jumps all through those time periods.
To make it interesting.
Yeah, and even there are flashbacks within the flashbacks, and it just gets very messy and very confusing. And I was like, why couldn't you have just made it straightforward?
Is that what we said? Is that what we said to him? We're like,
no, I didn't say that. No, of course I didn't say that. No, and also the ending is, it's hardly uplifting. It's quite a downer, because you literally see him like on his deathbed. Spoiler alert. And it's
Oscar,
quite...
he's been dead for 200 years. That's not a spoiler.
And it's quite like it gets dark, like it's someone full on their deathbed, and all the kind of like grotesqueness and depressing stuff that goes along with it. So it's a tough watch for sure. Like I said, don't...
So it's a laugh, right?
Yeah.
Lads aren't allowed to go to cinema to see Ocean's 8, and these are other options.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, for Rupert Everett's performance alone, it's worth it. And I mean, it is really all about his performance. There are like supporting cast in this, like Colin Firth is in it, and
really? It's great.
But he has a really small role.
But he's just got his mates to do it.
That's
exactly.
A
like he takes a total step back, and Emily Watson is another one in it. She plays his wife, and again she just steps back, and yeah, it does seem like a bit of like having my friends do this, but they're all like totally like, you know, they've such small roles and they're so obviously letting him take center stage, but that's fine because he's amazing in it.
He's the star.
Yeah, he is the star, and he knows it.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to watching your interview. I know Charlotte's putting it together now, so that'll be up on the YouTube as well. So we're chock-a-block with content this week, lads. Before we go into Dee's social media segment, which is awesome, we got some things to talk about. I spoke to Emma Kierwan and Ian Lloyd Anderson, who's both are fantastic in Dublin Old School, and we'll go deep on Dublin Old School next week. But I spoke to them for my new show, The Delve, which should be that interview itself should be dropping next week. And first thing Emma Kierwan said to me, big fan of the podcast. Big fan of the podcast. So shout out to Emma Kierwan for being awesome and listening to the podcast as well.
That's very weird.
That's very, you know, I think, well, I mean,
no,
it's
we're
cool.
More surreal.
Yeah, like isn't like that he's watching this, like that, like there are people watching this show. this crap.
You're so
we had
self-deprecating.
we had in May, not to toot our own horn, listener/viewer, we had 70,000 people engage, either listen or watch the podcast in May. Brian looks over his shoulder like
That is really
it's like somebody
weird.
was. It's like somebody
They're
was talking
watching
to you,
you,
there.
Brian.
Yeah,
I know, that's what freaks me out. I don't like it, okay? I don't like it. I don't like doing this show anymore. Not that too many people.
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean? You do the last word all the time. That's very popular.
Yeah,
show.
I hate doing the last word. Like, I do this because it's my job, but I don't enjoy it. Like,
Can we get that clip of Brian saying he hates the last word? I think
Yeah,
we'll promote that
I
one
feel
on
like we
social
could
media.
definitely.
Do you think there could be a slot going on the last word if you're over it? Like,
see, you can take it. You can take it. Okay, you can have it.
okay, so social media this week,
Yes.
Dee, we're going to go with forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah.
because I basically.
Mike has basically bullied us.
I was like, I want to
Doing
talk about
Forgetting
forgetting Sarah
Sarah
Marshall, so I'm going to hijack Brian's revisit
Sure.
segment this week because he stopped caring about 15 minutes ago, to be bluntly honest with you.
In fairness.
So I'm
yeah.
just going to take the segment this week. But
Yeah.
Dee, we had a speaking of celebrity fans,
Yes.
we had a nice tweet from somebody we
Yes.
mentioned on the show last week.
Yeah, so as you guys know from last week, I've kind of started looking at, the social stuff, and we are shooting, just to, flag in advance, we're shooting it kind of early this week, so there's only kind of one major tweet I'm talking about, but it's a big one, guys. So Mike tweeted this little clip from the show last week in which we talk about Patrick Wilson, and he said, here at Patrick Wilson 73, you want to be in the Filum Show gang, and
We're a gang.
Patrick Wilson actually replied.
I can't get over
which
that.
is
I can't get
amazing.
over that. That's incredible. Patrick
know.
Wilson
I know.
was watching us. That's nuts.
It's so cool. And also his tweet is
Can't believe it.
It's so cool. This is how cool the guy is. So he tweeted, guys, just call me. I'm around. Unless I'm, underwater. Because he's shooting Aquaman.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it, guys. So react.
We're going to take that like literally and call him. I should have replied like, when Patrick? When are we?
Yeah.
Frank, what can we
kind of
schedule
have
this
to, don't we?
schedule this conversation? No, I can tell you what happened here is because I CC'd Simon Delaney on the tweet.
Oh, true enough. Yeah,
And
yeah.
Simon is very sound, and I would say Simon favours his tweets, and I'd say that's how Patrick. Because
Probably
you
had a
only
word.
saw Patrick. I feel like we call him Pat. What about Paddy? I feel like Paddy saw that.
We're on
Simon
the- we're
Delaney.
on the basis
We're on
of
that-
Patrick
we're on that-
Wilson
I think
now, yeah.
Guys, come
Paddy,
on.
yeah.
You're
you
far
guys call
from
him
that.
Pat. I call him Paddy. But we're friends, but on the same level.
Sure.
Guys, we're not even past the stage of calling him Patrick Wilson yet. Full name.
No, people know now.
Formalities.
He's part of the show now. He's talented Patrick Wilson. Ridiculously
fine.
talented Patrick Wilson.
You can call him that.
I'm very like I don't know. I can't get over it. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, Patrick Wilson. Like, Jesus. Like,
I messaged you on Saturday. You didn't see it.
I was actually. Do you know where it was?
You were like, what? Where?
I actually had the weekend off. I had a rare weekend off, and it was down in a hotel. Actually, I need to talk to you about that afterwards. Actually,
I want to hear about your dirty weekend.
no, it wasn't it? I mean, never mind.
I need you to talk to me about what? You're in your 30s, Brian. Come on.
No. I was
He's lost
in
for
a
words.
hotel, and I got the message, and it was like check Twitter, bro, and I was like, oh yeah, you sent the clip. I was like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, grand, yeah. And then I looked at it again. He was like, no, check my Twitter, and I looked at it. I was like,
Why is that his voice also?
I don't know, whatever.
It's either Colin Farrell or this.
Anyways, and it was Patrick Wilson. I was like, Kate, look, it's Patrick Wilson. She was like, yeah, good. It's Patrick Wilson. He tweeted us.
Amazing.
Couldn't believe it. But we have to like you'd imagine when the Aquaman junket comes around, like we kind of have to have a chat with him. Like,
Yeah.
we have to. Like,
Yeah. I interviewed him for Watchmen years ago.
yeah.
cool.
He's lovely. He's very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
It was him and Malin Anchorman. And he admired my Superdry t-shirt. So I might walk in like an interview that was 10 years ago. Patrick! I'm the guy with
Buddy!
the Superdry t-shirt. Do you remember?
Barbara Streisand.
Do you remember me?
Let's talk.
That reaction, that Barbara Streisand reaction where she's like, been on
But,
Broadway for years. So yeah, Patrick Wilson has that John Wick levels of admiration I feel
Around.
collectively for us
Yeah.
on the show.
think
So it
he's
was
there
very
now.
cool of him to tweet us. We've been a fan of his for a long time as an actor and now as a musician and as a Broadway star. We appreciate his many talents.
Right? And as a fan of the show, I would like to think he's a fan of the show.
Do you reckon he's subscribed now?
Wouldn't it be gas if you did?
Patrick, drop onto at the Filum Show and drop us a favourite, subtly if you subscribed.
Man, if Patrick Wilson subscribed to the show, I would lose my shit.
Yeah.
I know I've cursed, I've done it, and I don't care. I did it.
Patrick Wilson is worth it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Fair play to Patrick Wilson.
Patrick Expletive Wilson.
Yeah,
there we go.
Delighted with that.
And Emma Kieran as well. Shout out to Emma Kieran. And I absolutely love that film, and I'm glad to hear Dee liked it too. But we will deep dive next week on Dublin Old School, which is fantastic. Okay, Dee, what have you got going on for the movie news?
That was a key higher than I usually do.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed the little do. I always enjoyed.
I noted. The high key. Yeah.
Okay. Incredibles 2 news, which incidentally, I think it's embargoed, but...
Yeah, well,
it opened in America this weekend, so it can't be embargoed.
Yeah, no, they Disney Ireland asked me to hold off the review of Incredibles 2 until week of release.
Yeah, but you've seen it, and it's out there, so you can talk about it if you need to
I can talk about it. Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
You can use facial expressions.
Yes.
To...
raise your eyebrows if it's good.
Yeah! Yay!
Look like a pox bottle if it's 4 stars. So it's 4 stars. Sound. What was the opening? Sorry,
Incredibles 2 has had the biggest opening weekend ever for an animated movie, so it earned $180 million in the box office this weekend and had a global total of $231.5 million. Jesus. The previous record holder was another Disney Pixar sequel, incidentally, Finding Dory, which made $135 million in 2016. Incredibles 2 also broke the record for best opening ever for a PG-rated movie, which was previously held by Beauty and the Beast in 2017, which made $174.6 million. And it now stands as the 8th biggest domestic opening of all time. But it'll be a while yet before we see it because it only opens in Irish cinemas on 13th of July. So sorry, we have to wait.
Yeah.
Except for Brian. He got to see it.
But you were really excited about this.
I'm so excited!
Wouldn't you let Dee review it?
I know. I was actually giving out about that this morning.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
How did you not
Could have
know?
gone if you wanted to.
No.
You never said.
Hang on a second. I did say. When we were doing press screenings, because I organise Brian's
obviously,
press screenings.
Dee owns the press screenings. Look, we bored producer Dave so much he's on his phone.
I went through them with you and you said, I'll take Incredibles 2. And I went, fine. Like, I very obviously...
Am I a mind reader?
Maybe I was being a bit of a woman about it. Maybe I was like, read my emotional...
Okay, do you know what, right? I am not a mind reader, okay? If you had said, hey, I'd love to do Incredibles 2, you know what, Dee? You could have gone and done it.
Maybe, Brian, maybe you just need to be more attentive. Because I know it's Dee's reaction.
Well, do you know what? Like, okay, like, don't do that. Don't. Okay. Yeah, bully for you.
We all know Dee's a big Pixar fan. Was really excited about The Incredibles, had her on her list. But yeah, I think just overrule him next time.
Okay, but you know what? In future, right?
I can't. He's the movies editor.
That doesn't mean anything.
Just get Dave O'Shaughnessy on the side. You'd be grand. You'd be like, Dave, like, I'm gonna.
All right, but you know what? If you actually, if you wanted to go, you could have gone. Like, you could have said, like. Now you make me look like a. Now you make me look like a prick. I'm cursing so much this week. I'm sorry.
Is prick really a curse word?
Anyway, that's 100. That's it.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. Sorry.
Let's
okay,
move
go
on.
on. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, The Incredibles. People knew it was going to do well.
Yeah.
Nobody expected it to do
this well,
record-breaking
well.
well.
I don't think they didn't not expect that. I'm not really. No, I am not surprised because it's Disney Pixar and it was a hugely anticipated sequel. So I'm not surprised, and I'm going to put money down on this now. Toy Story 4 is going to beat it in a couple of years' time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for biggest opening ever for an animated movie.
So, Brian, this is going to be making back some of that Solo money.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because Solo is the first failure that Disney have had in a while, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's the first Star Wars movie to lose money as well. Yeah, so it's definitely, but like I genuinely think the problem with Solo was the fact that like the reshoots cost that much money,
and I also think they did a total muck up with that release date.
Yeah, totally, like completely. Like I mean,
it got absolutely steamrolled by Deadpool.
Yeah,
which it shouldn't have.
Yeah, and Infinity War
and Jurassic World was like a week, 2 weeks later.
Jurassic World still hasn't opened in the US yet, you see, but it's globally it's absolutely trouncing it as well. But even then, without a bit of competition, it just didn't do very well. It didn't spike at all.
I think another part of this as well is the fact that I don't think anybody expected Infinity War to have the legs that it did, because
it shot past $2 billion globally.
Yeah, exactly. And like this was like 5-6 weeks after And Infinity War was still doing well at the box office. It was still picking up money. So I think it's a case of, the release date, as Dee said, was a problem. And also as well was the fact that the expensive, I don't think people realize how expensive. It effectively doubled the budget. They expected Solo to come in about 100, 150 million, and apparently it went up to 300 million.
Yeah, well, you should, what you're saying, when you spoke to Ron Howard, he was like, I had to reshoot, whatever.
Yeah.
You thought, you saying, was it a case of getting her over the line? And Ron Howard was like, I thought it was going to be a case of getting her over the line.
But he was like, no, they let me do whatever I want, kind of thing.
I mean, if they thought, and this, obviously, just 2020 in hindsight,
of course,
right?
yeah.
But they should have let Phil Lord and Chris Miller fail, if that's what they thought they were going to do. Or at least make an interesting failure instead of again.
Or done something like what they did with Gareth Edwards and bring someone else in,
and
not start from scratch.
Yeah, because that's pretty much what they did. And I mean, like Alden Ehrenreich, Brian. He's, have I said his name right?
Ehrenreich.
Ehrenreich. I feel bad for him because he must have been like, oh, this is going to be
this will be the launch pad for me.
Maybe it still will be.
Yeah, I'd say he'll still do okay. And I mean, he's really great in it. You know, he does a really good job. I can't imagine him doing better at kind of any other actor rather doing better at managing that job of balancing it so that you reference Harrison Ford's performance enough, but also bring your own to it. I thought he really,
I think
really
difficult thing to do.
So hard.
I still haven't seen it because I don't care. So, okay, what else?
I think you would like it though. I think you would like it.
I really liked Force Awakens.
Yeah.
The last one I was like, whatever.
Yeah. No, I think you'd like it.
The Last Jedi, I was like, eh.
I think you would appreciate it, because I think there's enough action in it that
I like explosions and stuff.
No, but genuinely, it's that you can appreciate. What I mean is,
pissing herself laughing.
But you can appreciate well choreographed.
John Wick.
But that's true though. But anyone can appreciate
14-year-old hormonal boy. Sorry.
Anybody can appreciate well choreographed and well directed action, and I think that's what Solo has. I think you'd agree with that.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was grand.
What else do we have, Dee?
John Travolta's new mob movie, Goaty. This is at the time of writing, so maybe it has 2% by now, but at the time of writing and at the time of reporting, it has a 0% score on Rotten Tomatoes. So the whole thing has basically been a mess. Just 2 weeks before its original release date, the distributors, Lionsgate, sold the movie back to its producers. It's now been released by Vertical Entertainment and MoviePass Ventures, some kind of indie.
I think MoviePass is something where you do a discount with a meal or something.
Yeah, it's like one of those.
Obviously paraphrasing, but there's something like that.
He brought it to Cannes last month, and I didn't hear anything about it, so that's not always a good sign. The reviews have been atrocious. I actually grabbed a couple of sound bites here. T.H. Orr said, poorly written, devoid of tension, ridiculous in spots, and just plain dull in others. While the New York Post said, Goaty flick is the worst mob movie of all time. I'd rather wake up next to a severed horse head than ever watch Goaty again. Gotti, sorry.
I hate film critics. So much.
But you
I
are
really do.
You
No.
were one for years.
He is one. What are you doing?
I have reviewed Dublin Old School, but so I got to it first and went to see it twice. But I hate film critics so much.
It's the hyperbole, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's what's the most arsey, they just annoy me.
Yeah.
And there's a massive, look, I'm not talking about this film.
He hates us.
I'm not talking about this film. I heard both of you guys, right? You're welcome. You're welcome, by the way. No, I'm not talking about Gotti, but I'm talking about just that disconnect between some film critics. I'm not talking about you, Brian, but between some film critics and the films that they're reviewing and the audiences that consume those films.
Yes.
I'm not saying, go and give Transformers 5 a positive review because some people are going to like it. I just think there's a massive disconnect. I think especially between elements of the broadsheet film critics and the likes of Deadpool 2 or the likes of, from what I'm hearing as well, Dublin Old School, and we'll get into it, I think, properly next week, but I don't know how anybody couldn't have been blown away by that film, I really don't, or have issues with how it's structured, or that film is art with a heart.
Yeah.
Should I put that in the poster? Damn it!
Oh, that's a good one.
Do you like that? Art with a heart. They just have to go with the film experience of the summer.
Well, here, I'll tell you what though, right? I mean, just to get back to Gotti for a second, right? I do think with a film like that is that bad, I think you can kind of what's the word? you can luxuriate on how bad of it is. Do you know that sort of way?
Sometimes I'm not
It's
going to lie,
fun.
it's a bit of fun.
Yeah,
it
it's
is
fun ripping it apart. Like it's like giving it both barrels. Like it's good.
And look, I've done that myself.
Yeah.
Like, I've done that myself over the years, and I would say if I could go back down, I'd probably punch myself in the face and stop being a pretentious little arse.
It's not being pretentious. It's like having fun with the fact that how terrible this film is. Like,
and also the fact that you've just had so little fun and have put yourself through the trauma and the pain of actually watching the thing. You need to lighten it up a bit. You know?
don't get me wrong. Like, you're absolutely
for your own sanity.
You got something out of it. Yeah. But like, don't get me wrong. Like, of course, like there are people who are literally down mines. Like have worse jobs than we have. Like it's not like saying like it was a terrible experience having to go watch.
Dave literally just went like this.
I'm so sorry they couldn't see it. So sorry they can't see or hear that reaction. Producer Dave literally went.
But you know what I mean? Like you know what I'm saying? Like
people
I'm not
down mines. What is this? The 1950s
You're
in Liverpool.
basically Stan from South Park right now. You know that thing he does.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, as in the idea of like, you know, we're saying that like it's like it was so terrible, kind of thing. Like, yeah, like of course there are worse things that happen in the world.
Like the Zoolander's family working on the mine.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
what are you talking
Zoolander
about?
2 is crap.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Brian. I get what you're saying. You didn't articulate it in the most articulate way. I suppose.
Articulate it in the most articulate way.
Yeah.
That's not very articulate.
Did convey it in the most articulate way.
Yeah. There we go. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is a bit, it is a bit up its own whatever to be kind of like, hoop to be that kind of like, it's absolutely awful.
And I do find that particularly with, I won't say certain certain reviewers say when they're looking at comedies. Yeah. I think that there's a very snobby attitude to, and not even just comedies. I think that like genre in general, comedies, superhero movies, just across the board with reviewers tend to get like kind of a bad
They have a
rep,
mass appeal.
you know, and it's really kind of frustrating because I look at a superhero movie as a superhero movie. I'm not going to be comparing it to the likes of like Tully and A Quiet Place, two of like the best movies I think that have come out this year.
I agree with you.
You know, there's no point.
Yeah.
And then Deadpool 2, again, you have to kind of, you know, look at it as...
You have to take it in context.
Yeah, and I kind of like, I suppose I ended up with 3.5 because I was looking at it as a Deadpool movie.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I mean, I totally got your review, but I genuinely got your point of view from it as well, because you were like, and I've done that before. Again, I've done all of the stuff I'm giving out about. Yeah. That's why I feel like I can look back and go, oh. Like, you know, because...
you've done it. You've seen the other side.
Exactly, I've experienced and I've seen the other side of it, but... I just think I think there's obviously elements of, you do this for a living, so you have to do it day in, day out. And I remember being jaded with you know, certain films I think I did it for like 8 years, before I became an editor, 6 years before I became an editor. And then it was kind of stop and start where I'd go and cover stuff for Brian or Gaff Burke or whoever when there was nobody around before the lovely Deirdre came along. So I get it, but I just think...
I know, of course.
I mean, like, and look, I've been wrong many times. And like I know you've said that about yourself with certain reviews, Independence Day was absurd, but I've been wrong many times.
I rather enjoyed it as well, Brian.
Thank you.
There you go, cool.
I remember actually when we went to see it and we were like, in entertainment.ie gave it 4 stars.
Thank you.
I still remember that.
I went to see it because Brian gave it 4 stars and left about an hour in. Paid to see it, Brian. You owe me money.
You know what? You know what? I'm glad you went to see it. And if Max Ramsbottom is watching this as well, okay, I would have put this on my top 10 of the year, okay? But I didn't.
For anybody,
for Max Ramsbottom watching this,
for anybody,
call me chump.
Okay, that was a very
that was very deep cut.
He always needs some rant during the show, doesn't he?
It was so in. Like that was such an in joke. That was like an incredible in joke with literally one person.
Yeah, sorry.
Who you know does listen. You could have just texted him.
I could have texted him.
You could have just texted him. I think if one of us has to go away, I think we might bring in Max.
True.
To come and sit down because I don't think he's got much else going on. Like I just see him a fly for during the day, like if I'm off, you know. It's like, all right,
like man, he's training to be a solicitor. Okay, right. Well, I'll put this in context.
No, we're not going on a tangent here.
I just want to put it in context for everyone listening. Okay, so basically the story was Max Ramsbottom, who used to work for us, who was a writer, who was a real person, by the way. His name literally was Max Ramsbottom. Are we cutting this?
No.
Okay, grand. So Max basically, right, used to work for entertainment.ie. He was one of the staff writers. I wrote the review for Independence Day Resurgence. Really, really liked it, gave it 4 stars. Max didn't agree with my review of it at all. And he was like, well, you know what? If you liked it so much, why don't you put it on the top 10 of the year? And I was like, well, I don't know if I liked it that much. And he was like, so why are you giving it 4 stars then? What are you going to do? Jump? And that's basically it. And then it is.
So what you've done there is you've given context to your one person joke that one person listening to this podcast is going to get. I just mentioned 70,000 people in May consumed this podcast and show in one form or another. So you just hijacked it for 5 minutes straight. To give that person context to what you were saying.
And we know it's 5 minutes because we're looking at
Okay, let's move on then. Like, you haven't like hijacked this show for 5 minutes to do your own, like, oh, by the way, I'm going to be doing the delve.
Wow, shots are being fired in this show.
Anyway, Deirdre, you haven't finished your movie news segment. I deeply apologise for an interruption from Brian. We're not going to cut it out because we want people to see. We want people to see what he's like. We want people to see what we have to deal with.
Good luck.
Terry Gilliam has lost the rights to The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, which I just think that this story is like, it's one of those crazy movie industry stories that you're like, how is this friggin' possible? So he's been trying to get this movie made for almost 2 decades. The completed movie, which stars Adam Driver, much beloved on Twitter, by the way. People are really into Adam Driver. Really into him. It's kind of weird. And Jonathan Pryce, who I think he's cool. He's in Pirates of the Caribbean. He plays like Elizabeth Swann's dad.
Oh, okay. Jonathan Pryce. Yeah,
I think he's great. It finally premiered at Cannes, the completed movie. But now the Paris Court of Appeal have basically ruled in favour of the film's former producer, Paolo Brancho, who sued for rights to the project on the grounds that Gilliam made the film illegally. So how
do you make a film illegally?
Sorry to interrupt. Essentially, the Portuguese producer, they originally signed a contract together, him and Gilliam, to make the film in 2016. That collaboration fell through, but Gilliam still went ahead to make the movie in 2017.
How did he get the money?
That's where I find it a bit confusing. So did he have money?
It's in like a production fund or something, and he just used the money in the production fund.
I find it a bit confusing, to be honest. I'm not great for legal stuff, which is bad because my dad's actually a lawyer.
He actually would know about this. Yeah.
But Gilliam has had to pay a little over €10,000 in damages to Alfama Films, which is the production company, and they'll also be looking for similar recompense from the film's production crew, from the French producer. So it might have been the French producer.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that was
super messy.
And also the Cannes Film Festival are actually screening the film. So it's totally a mess. And it's all up to Branco now whether the film actually sees the light of day.
It might be one of those things where he just takes it and re-edits it or something or who knows what they're planning on doing.
Or they could just be so peeved that they just shelve it, and he totally could. That's what's so worrying. Like, we might never see this movie. And I saw a trailer for it and it looked like a bit of crack.
Didn't he try and make this years ago, Johnny Depp?
He's been trying to make this for years.
18 years.
18 years. Like, I mean, it is literally like, it's almost become a running joke kind of thing.
That it's cursed.
That this film is cursed, that like he had this
Sounds
idea,
like it is.
That he's been trying to get it made for years, that it didn't happen, that he almost got it made and then it fell through and then stuff happened and then, like, I honestly, I think this is going to sound ridiculous, right? I think the documentary that eventually gets made about this film will probably end up being better than the film itself.
If they can actually use the footage from it.
Use the film, yeah. It's kind of like, it's literally like Apocalypse Now and Hearts of Darkness kind of thing. Like, that's
Apocalypse Now would have been a bit of a classic though, so you never know.
But like Hearts of Darkness, like, is an incredible documentary. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, like, it's so good. Like,
heart attacks and affairs and all that crack. Everything. Marlon Brando just went off his biscuit.
Yeah, literally turning up like day of, like he was due to start, like overweight and bald and knew none of his lines kind of thing. And there's that brilliant scene in Hearts of Darkness where he's just like, I think I'm done for the day now, and just walks off the set, like, and they're like, what are we going to do? Like,
I think that's one of those things when it's with athletes, if you're an elite athlete, you know, you have to kind of keep challenging yourself, like if you're Tom Brady or LeBron James or you know, Zidane or whoever, like, and Marlon Brando was that for acting. And even now, if you like listen to any podcast with like the best of the best, you know, the best of the best guys working today, they all reference him. Marlon Brando, like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. Pacino talked about it on a Bill Simmons podcast where he's like, oh, Brando was it for us.
That was it. He was even saying
knew.
That.
So we get my point being, you know, you really need a certain mindset to keep yourself at that level, or you just get complacent and you're like, oh, Marlon Brando, I'm going to get fat and bald, and you just do stuff I want to do.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny because, like, I think with with just to go back to Don Quixote, like I mean Terry Gilliam, like I mean like he's the kind of director that he is incredibly hit or miss. You know, that sort of way.
12 Monkeys is a good crack.
12 Monkeys was brilliant.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Incredible.
I really
mental
like that, yeah.
film.
Then you have stuff like, you know, Zero Theorem, which was not great, and then you have stuff like...
I think he did Brothers Grimm, actually, which we talked about last week.
Which we were talking about last week, which was not great.
I forgot he did that. Completely forgot he made that.
That's what I'm saying.
A
It wasn't
studio
great.
movie with
Weird
Terry
movies.
Gilliam
Yeah.
tint type thing, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Brazil is a huge kind of cult favorite as well.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know, it's a shame that this is happening, but at the same time, it's sort of like, it'll make for a great documentary later. I know
Afterwards.
that's terrible to say,
that's true.
Fact, yeah.
Okay, we'll move on now to the revisit. Brian has just tapped out.
I've
Brian
just
has
tapped out.
on
I'm
the
gonna
revisit.
tag you in for this one.
Did you notice with the still on YouTube for the show this week?
For last
It's
week's
just
one,
Brian,
it was me just
so that's
pointing.
when he did the thing again when he was pointing at Max. He did it again. Did you just like how you looked when you
A
pointed?
little bit. There was an element of like, oh, that looks kind of cool. I'll do it
did
again
look
for
cool,
this week.
yeah.
Like,
So there you go.
So every week Brian's going to go all Spice Girls down the lens of the
Right down the lens.
down the lens of the camera. Okay, so we've had to shoot a little bit early this week because you were off doing a junket, Brian.
I am.
So yeah, I hijacked it. I hijacked this one, D. I mean, you were fine with it though. You sounded fine with it.
Hey, why are you saying this?
No,
I'm
just saying-
you're the host. You
You're
can do whatever
accomplice.
you
No,
want.
I was like, well, we're also the host. But I was like, today, I was like, what are we doing? What are we going to do for the readers? Because normally, obviously, we'll try and watch.
because I was
and
saying...
he was like, I suppose we'll do for Sarah Marshall.
Actually, I did say that.
See? For me, comedies are always, really good comedies are always, for me, the most rewatchable movies.
Yes.
So, and like, one of my favourite movies ever is Old School. I'm not saying it's a great film, like, in terms of how it's structured, in terms of how it plays, in terms of how it's paced. It's strange. When you break it down, it's just basic and a little bit strange, but it's also hilarious. Exactly. There are a million little moments at the Dan Band. The scene at the end, Will Ferrell just kicking in the supermarket, having a party with some internet friends. Why don't you call over? There's just a million little Vince Vaughn and Jeremy Piven. Yeah. Did we lock you in a dumpster once? Yeah, I got out. Cool, man. Like so many little moments like that in it. Forgetting Sarah Marshall is another one of those movies for me.
Yeah,
It really is, because at the time it came out, there was a whole lot of like Judd Apatow like love generally going around because of the 1-2 Superbad and Knocked Up. He'd obviously directed Superbad and he just produced Knocked Up, and he's just produced Forgetting Sarah Marshall. But Jason Segel was another one of his proteges that he'd gotten to know or kind of discovered during Freaks and Geeks. And all of a sudden, like Seth Rogen, Jason Segel turns into this like amazing writer who like with a gift for nuance and comedy. Who's lead character is this strange puppeteer, odd looking kind of. By his own admission, like kind of,
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot.
Yeah,
that.
the whole he made the Dracula
musical.
The Dracula musical.
Is so good.
And then he obviously went on and made a Muppets movie as well.
Yeah.
And having interviewed Jason Segel a couple of times, and actually getting to spend a couple of hours with him when he was in Dublin for.
I remember you saying
we
that.
did a web chat with him.
Yeah.
He is the loveliest man, and that bleeds through, I think, in a lot of his characters, in that they're kind of silly, they're kind of goofy, they can be crass, but there's just something inherently likeable and warm about them. Yeah. And the lead character in this film, also Bill Hader's in it as well.
Yeah.
Kristen Bell, who just
playing against type.
Against type. Oh, Kristen Bell is known for being just one of the coolest people, and just been generally like she did a podcast with Michael Rosenbaum, who's kind of a friend of hers, and just. That's when people generally open up in those things, when they know each other. And she just seems awesome. We spoke last week about it as well, I think, where she filled in for Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah,
and was amazing. And that's a difficult thing to do, to just step in and do that. So if Adam Sandler did that years ago for Letterman, and I remember talking to Adam Sandler about it when I interviewed him, and he was like, I was so nervous. Like Sandler was like, he was like breaking it, doing the monologue. And he goes, the one thing I learned doing that was how slick Letterman is. To get to a point, like, there's so many of those, people that are doing those late night shows, even Samantha Bee now, where they get to a certain point and they just have it. They're just able to nail it, and they're just able to hit the beats, and you have to be doing it for a long period of time to get it. Kristen Bell was just went into that slot and was slick as hell. Mila Kunis as well. She's kind of playing the cool chick, for want of a better phrase. Yeah. It's just a lovely film. It's a warm film. There's something kind of, it's one of those. I mean, then the ultimate rewatchable films where, you've in your DVD collection, I'm going to throw this on and just You know, like a blanket.
That's where DVDs come in handy.
It is, isn't it? Because myself and Joe tried watching Forgetting Sarah Marshall last week, and I couldn't get it anywhere. Oh yeah. So if you wanted to buy it on YouTube, like literally couldn't get it anywhere. If you wanted to buy it on YouTube, you couldn't buy it on YouTube because it wasn't on iOS, and I don't have Apple TV, so like it's ridiculous, you know. But anyway, it's the sweetest, loveliest film about a guy getting over a breakup. Is Kristen Bell plays his girlfriend, who's like, she's in a crime scene of the crime, which is like a CSI type show, and the show gets cancelled, and she ends up with Russell Brand.
He ruins it for me. So that's it.
Really?
I can't watch this film because Russell Brand is in it. Russell Brand. I hate that guy.
I thought you would have quite similar politics with Russell Brand. No?
That's why he doesn't like him.
Really?
They're too alike.
Leaving my politics aside for a moment. Okay.
Let's leave your politics aside for a moment.
Yeah.
I'm getting branded here.
No, but I think Russell Brand in it, he's basically just playing Russell Brand. And I think there was a period there in around the same time Forgetting Sarah Marshall was made where it was basically, if you add Russell Brand to your film, you're going to get Russell Brand. You're not going to get him playing a character. You're just going to get him playing somebody else. It was like the whole thing. But remember...
In Hop, he played a rabbit, and he was very convincingly not Russell Brand.
All right.
He played something in Bedtime Stories.
Animation movie reference.
Yeah. All right, but an Arthur. Remember Arthur? The Arthur remake.
I did enjoy Jennifer Garner immensely in Arthur, though.
Yeah, and Helen Mirren I thought was good in it as well.
I'd say you did.
Anyways, but I just think in this he was basically just playing himself, and it was the same with Get Him to the Greek. It was again just
Get Him to the Greek.
Yeah, I like it too, but Russell Brand is the weak link. Every film I ever see him in a comedy, he's the weak link.
There's a scene in Get Him to the Greek, and Jonah Hill as well. I want to talk about a quote, speaking of those re-quotable comedies, and I am going to curse, so I do apologise. But there's a scene in Get Him to the Greek where Jonah Hill's character is obviously a record label guy, he's an A&R guy, and he needs to essentially get him to the Greek to perform a show. And Russell Brand's freaking out because he's trying to go cold turkey with drugs. And that scene is very real because that's some shit that
he has
Russell
some stuff,
went through. Watch that scene where he's rubbing the furry wall, and he gets super intense with Jonah Hill. But because it's been a long time since that film came out. I did that junket. But there's a scene in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Jonah Hill plays this waiter. It's one of those things where the lads would just be in each other's movies. That Apatow could be in just movies, and he's he's a huge fan of Russell Brand's character. It's obviously where the spin-off came from. And he's like, can I just get that for him? He's like, and he just dismisses him, and he goes, I'll just go fuck myself then. What you saying? And that is my favourite meme ever. I just think it's a fantastic line. I've interviewed Jonah Hill many times. I've never found him to be a pleasant human being. Yeah. But why is he talented and funny? I will say that much. Even in little scenes like that, where you're like, you just have it. God damn you, Jonah Hill.
Another shout out, speaking of small actors, not small actors, small roles in this, Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd!
Is so funny.
The weather outside is weather.
Yeah, he's gas.
What's the lemonade one? The lemonade gift where it was like, when life gives you lemons.
Oh, what was it again? When
life gives you, obviously the quote was, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. He goes, when life gives you lemons, just bail. What's it? I'm paraphrasing.
Something like that, yeah. Something like that.
But Paul Rudd's fantastic in that as well, and it's another one of those Apatow peripheral characters who've led their own movies and just popping in with the lads and just having a crack.
See, I feel like we don't get those movies as much nowadays. I feel like the last one we really saw, basically all of these great comedic actors, but all of them have fairly small roles in it, but really kind of go all out. I feel like the last movie I saw that in was probably This Is the End.
I love This Is the End.
I love This Is the End.
And they're so funny, all playing caricatures of themselves. And remember Paul Rudd running in at the end with the bottle of champagne, what the fuck's going on? It was so funny.
Michael Cera just off his biscuit on
cocaine. Oh my god.
And just blowing it in people's faces as well. I feel like some of the insults are just that little bit too.
It's very near, isn't it? It's very near. And the whole thing with Emma Watson comes out with the baseball bat. Or Danny McBride, and he brings out the
Channing
gimp and
Tatum.
Channing Tatum.
So
hey guys.
So when life gives you lemons, I just say fuck the lemonade or fuck the lemons and bail. That's what he says. Yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, apologies for the cursing at the end of the show this week. We went off the rails. We went off the rails, but I feel like we went off the rails in an extremely entertaining way. Would you agree, producer Dave?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that.
Deadpan
Dave. He was WhatsApping away there. He wasn't even paying attention. He was just pretending to turn stuff like that. Calvin
Harris
phone
is so fancy. Did you see his new phone?
Yeah, it was like Calvin Harris when he's like, yeah. You were just like, just scrolling through Instagram or wherever you kids do.
His phone is so
We need to put a camera on you for this every week, I swear to God. He's got it. I'm telling you. Shout out to Charlotte Reid in post-production for putting the show together for us visually, and of course to Dave O'Regan, producer Dave. Shout out. So next week we're going to talk Dublin Old School. And I'm excited. I'm really excited. Are you going to get a chance to see it?
I will hopefully get to see it.
I'm really interested to see what you think of it as well, and to get into it again next week. Okay, so follow at the Filum Show on Twitter. Dee will read out some of the tweets.
Tweet us.
Tweet us if you have suggestions. Charlotte Reid has suggested the Skeleton Twins, which I know was one we talked about before for the revisit next week. So we might talk about that. If you agree, if you disagree, tweet at the Filum Show and let us know the crack. We'll catch you next week.